Regret, in its essence, is a feeling of sadness, disappointment, or remorse about something that has happened or a choice we've made in the past. It's the recognition that we could have acted differently or made a different decision. And now we're facing the consequences of our actions or inactions. I'm Sinta Ebersohn. As a post-traumatic growth specialist, I love looking at aspects of life that contribute to dragging us down or preventing us from moving forward or holding us back. Regret can be an oppressive burden we carry around with us if not addressed. So in order to be resilient, we have to work through it, much like so many other issues that weighs us down. This video is a small example of all the interesting topics I talk about in my online Get Up and Grow community, where we consciously cultivate resilience in all aspects of life. Click on the link to have a look. You'll love it. So let's explore some practical examples of regret that many of us encounter in our everyday lives. Let's look at relationships, for example. Regretting not spending enough time with our loved ones or not expressing our feelings when we had the chance. Does that sound familiar? Or how about in your career, regretting not pursuing a passion or taking a different career path? Does that ring true for you? And what about regretting not taking care of your physical or your mental health earlier in your life? Does anybody resonate with that? What about financial? When you're regretting impulsive spending or not saving for the future or not saving for your retirement, many of us can relate to that. And the last example I want to use is our education. What about when we regret not seizing the opportunities for learning and for personal growth? Does that ring a bell to anybody? While you're here, please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel to help me grow my reach. So why do we feel regret? It's often a blend of emotions stemming from our desire for a different outcome or a sense of loss or a feeling of responsibility for our actions. It's primarily an emotional response, but it can also manifest mentally, leading to rumination, self-criticism, and things like that. Rumination is when you're constantly replaying events leading to the regretful decision that you made, wondering what could have been done differently. Or it's when you are obsessively analyzing your past actions and their consequences, and you're unable to let go of those feelings of remorse. Or another example would be when you're losing sleep over your regrets, as your mind fixates on the perceived mistakes and the implications. Self-criticism can be like engaging in harsh self-talk, berating yourself for the perceived failure or inadequacy that led to the regretful situation, or perhaps believing that your worth is diminished because of the regretted action, or the feelings that you have of unworthiness or self-loathing even for some people. Comparing yourself unfavorably to others is also an example when you're amplifying your feelings of regret by highlighting your perceived shortcomings or failures compared to other people. So the impact of regret on an individual can be profound. It can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, or even depression. Imagine carrying the weight of past mistakes, constantly replaying them in your mind and feeling stuck in a cycle of self-blame. What is guilt? A parent feeling guilty for missing their child's important school event due to work commitments or other responsibilities or arrangements that they had. It leads to remorse and a sense of failing as a parent, perhaps. What about an individual feeling guilty for betraying a friend's trust by sharing their confidential information with someone else? And that can result in a deep sense of regret and even self-reproach. Another example would be a person experiencing guilt for making a careless mistake at work, maybe, that caused financial loss to their company. It also leads to feelings of responsibility and remorse. And then let me look at shame, for example. A student feeling ashamed of their poor academic performance compared to their peers leads to feelings of inadequacy and even embarrassment for some. What about an individual feeling ashamed of their past actions, such as cheating in a relationship, maybe, leading to a reluctance to face others and a desire to actually hide their mistakes or their wrongdoings? Another example would be a parent, again, feeling ashamed of their child's behavior in public, leading to a sense of embarrassment and a fear of being judged by others. And I also need to talk about depression, which can also be an impact of regret. A person experiencing depression due to regret over a failed relationship, feeling hopeless and unable to envision a positive future is a good example. Or an individual experiencing depression as a result of regret over past financial decisions that led to significant debt, or feeling overwhelmed and powerless to change their circumstances. That's also an example. And also, a person feeling depressed due to regret over missed opportunities in their career, leading to feelings of worthlessness and maybe a lack of motivation to really pursue their goals. Does that sound familiar to any of you? When experiencing regret, people may exhibit behaviors such as avoidance, denial, or even deflection, and it's natural to want to distance ourselves from those painful emotions. But avoiding regret only actually prolongs the suffering. Because if you're avoiding, like a person who avoids attending a family gathering where they know they'll face relatives who they might have wronged in the past, they prefer to stay at home to avoid confronting those feelings of regret and shame. That can lead to long-term consequences, negative impact. Or an individual who procrastinates addressing a mistake they made at work. They're avoiding that difficult conversation with their boss or their colleagues because they are fearful of facing the consequences and of feeling the regret or the remorse. And also a person who avoids looking at old photographs or mementos from a past relationship, for example, who prefer to keep them out of sight to avoid triggering those painful memories and those feelings of regret again. And sometimes people deny it, like a person who denies the impact of their actions on others, insisting that they did nothing wrong, and despite the evidence to the contrary, they do that in an attempt to avoid feeling the regret or the guilt altogether. Or someone who really denies their own feelings of regret, telling themselves and others that they're not bothered by past mistakes or missed opportunities, they're perfectly fine. And they do that to avoid facing the discomfort of acknowledging their regrets, actually. Or a person who denies the validity of others' criticisms or feedback about their behavior. They just deflect the blame onto external factors or other people in order to protect themselves from really feeling that regret or that shame about what they've done. And that brings me to deflection. Some people really are good at deflecting attention away from their own regrets by criticizing or judging other people or similar actions or mistakes. And they shift the focus away from themselves, literally to avoid facing their own feelings of regret. Or an individual who deflects the questions about their past decisions or actions by making jokes. They're making light of the situation, or they change the subject, and that way they avoid the conversation altogether because it might lead to them feeling that regret and that discomfort. Someone who deflects accountability for their mistakes by blaming, again, external circumstances or other people, and they just refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. Sometimes often do it also in order to avoid those uncomfortable feelings of regret and shame. So what can we do to navigate regret in a healthy way? And this is my favorite part because I so love offering solutions and suggestions on how to handle it. First of all, we need to acknowledge and accept our feelings of regret. And then we need to allow ourselves to experience that regret without judgment. It's, after all, a normal part of being human. But what do I mean when I say acknowledge our feelings. An individual can acknowledge their feelings of regret after, let's say, realizing they missed an important opportunity, saying to themselves, I feel disappointed and regretful about not taking that chance. Or someone who acknowledges their regretful feelings in a journal, for example, writing down specific instances where they wish they'd acted differently and recognizing those emotions that are tied to those memories. Or you could acknowledge your regret as a parent, for example, over reacting angrily to your child's behavior by admitting to yourself, I regret raising my voice and I wish I had handled the situation more calmly. Those are great examples of accepting or acknowledging our feelings. And then we have to accept them without judgment, because our feelings of regret, without trying to suppress or deny them, are part of us. And in accepting them, we recognize that it's natural to feel this way, after we made a mistake or after experiencing a loss. And we can also accept that we cannot change the past, but we can choose to focus on learning from our regrets rather than dwelling on what could have been. Similarly, someone accepts that regret is part of their journey toward personal growth and uses it as a motivation to make positive changes in their life moving forward. That would be a way to accept our regret without judgment. And then, how do we move forward? How do we allow our feelings to happen? How do we sit with it? Those feelings of regret without criticizing or blaming ourselves for past decisions, but recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, and every mistake we made is okay, and it's okay to feel regretful about them sometimes. We also do that by allowing our regretful emotions to surface without judging them as good or bad, but simply observing them with curiosity and compassion. Because remember, if we observe our emotions with curiosity, we might uncover valuable life lessons from them, learn something that will make us grow. And also we can allow ourselves to experience regret without comparing our experiences to others or without feeling guilty for feeling the way that we do, because we understand that each person's journey is unique. The next thing you have to do is take responsibility for your actions. Hold yourself accountable for your choices, and if necessary, apologize to those people who were affected by your behavior. Owning up to your mistakes is the first step towards healing and growth. What do I mean when I say take responsibility? A manager, for example, takes responsibility for a project failure by acknowledging their role in the oversight and openly discussing ways to rectify the situation with their team. Or a driver might take responsibility for causing a minor accident by admitting fault to the other party and cooperating fully with insurance and legal proceedings that follow afterwards. Or a student might take responsibility for plagiarizing a paper by confessing to their professor and accepting the consequences, but also committing to improving their academic integrity. How do you hold yourself accountable? An entrepreneur would hold themselves accountable for missing deadlines by implementing a more organized time management system and setting realistic goals for future projects. A parent might hold themselves accountable for their child's misbehavior by reflecting on their own parenting strategies and maybe seeking guidance or support outside to address those underlying issues. Similarly, an athlete would hold themselves accountable for poor performance by committing to additional training sessions, seeking feedback from coaches, and even taking steps to improve their skills in other ways. So, we need to be responsible for our actions. We need to hold ourselves accountable, which means we need to do something about it to make it better, to fix it, to improve it. And then we need to apologize to anybody who was affected by our actions or non-actions that we are feeling regretful about. For example, a spouse can apologize to their partner for a hurtful remark during an argument, and express genuine remorse and make a commitment to communicate more effectively and more kindly in the future. Or a friend can apologize to a friend for forgetting a birthday celebration, acknowledging the oversight and making plans to make it up to them, with a thoughtful gesture in the near future. Another way is for a colleague to apologize to their team for taking credit for their work in a meeting, for example, publicly acknowledging their mistake and offering recognition and appreciation for their contribution. So there are many ways we can do it. But at the end of the day, communication is key. If it's appropriate, share your regret with someone you trust. Talking about our feelings can offer clarity and perspective, and it strengthens our connections with others. How do you share something that you feel regretful about with someone that you trust? For example, a person can share their regret with their best friend, confiding in them about a decision they might have made that led to unintended consequences. So they're seeking support and understanding. A spouse, for example, can share their regret with their partner, opening up about feelings of guilt over a past mistake in the relationship and discussing ways to move forward together. Or a colleague could share their regret with a mentor at work, seeking guidance and advice on how to address this professional error and learn from it for future growth. There's so many ways we can do it. But as long as we talk about our feelings, like a teenager would talk to their parent about feelings of regret and disappointment, maybe after failing an important exam, they can engage in open and honest conversation about academic challenges and coping strategies for the future. Or a therapy client might talk to their counselor about their feelings of regret that stem from childhood trauma and explore the impact of those past experiences on current behaviors and emotions, because it's a safe and supportive environment. Or if you're in a support group, one of the people in the group could talk about their feelings of regret with their peers who have experienced similar struggles. And that brings us comfort and validation in shared experiences and a collective wisdom that we find there. So lastly, like I said, we have to take action. Learn from your regrets and use them as lessons for the future. Make changes in your life that align with your values and your aspirations. What do I mean? Taking action by learning from your regrets looks like this. A business owner learns from the regret of not investing enough time or money in employee training by implementing a comprehensive training program and prioritizing ongoing professional development for their team. That's how they learn from whatever they're feeling regretful of. Learning from your mistakes. Or a student might learn, after being regretful about procrastinating on assignments, and not handing them in on time, by developing better time management skills and creating a study schedule that allows for consistent progress and also reduces their stress. Similarly, a parent can learn from a regretful mistake. Let's say they missed an important moment in a child's life by prioritizing quality time spent together and actively participating in their child's activities and milestones. So we can use our regrets as lessons for the future. Like I've given examples, let me give you some more. A homeowner uses the regret of neglecting home maintenance tasks to create a proactive maintenance schedule, and they can ensure regular inspections and repairs so they prevent future issues and they preserve the value of their property. Or if you're feeling regretful about not pursuing your passion, let's say you're passionate about art and you're feeling regret for not pursuing it earlier in your life, enroll in art classes and dedicate some time to creative pursuits. Embrace your artistic talents and explore new opportunities for self-expression. That's what you should do. If you're a manager and you regret micromanaging your team a bit in the past, Adopt a more empowering leadership style. Learn how to do that. Delegate tasks effectively and foster a culture of trust and collaboration among your team members. And then I said we need to make changes that align with our values and our aspirations. And with what I mean with this is, for example, an environmentalist can make changes in their lifestyle, such as reducing waste and carbon footprint and starting recycling because they're feeling regretful for not taking earlier action to protect the planet. They're aligning their actions with their commitment to environmental sustainability. Or a professional who transitions to a new career that aligns with their passions and their values after experiencing regret for staying in a job that didn't fulfill them. They're taking steps to pursue more meaningful and fulfilling career paths. Or a volunteer who commits to increasing their involvement in the community service activities after they're feeling regret for not contributing enough to their community in the past. So dedicating time and energy and making a positive impact and helping others in need is how they are acting on their regret, making changes that align with their values and their aspirations. Remember, regret doesn't have to define you. By facing it head on, by making amends where it's needed and committing to positive change, you can transform regret into resilience and growth. You must have enjoyed listening to me if you're still here. So why don't you subscribe to my channel to be notified whenever I post new content like this. But if you'd really like to get access to the best resilience teachings, tools, skills, and resources out there, sign up to join my Get Up and Grow online community. What about helping someone else who is experiencing regret? The key is to approach them with empathy, compassion, and understanding. Here are some thoughts on how we can support others in overcoming regret in a loving and kind way. Listen without judgment. Create a safe space for the person to express their feelings without fear of criticism and condemnation. Simply being there to listen and validate their feelings and emotions can be incredibly healing. Offer them perspective. Help the person to gain perspective on their regrets by gently guiding them to consider the lessons they can learn from their experiences and encouraging them to focus on what they can control and how they can grow from their mistakes. Also provide support. Offer practical support and encouragement as they navigate through their feelings of regret. It's tough, it's not easy. Whether it's helping them brainstorm solutions or accompanying them to seek professional help if needed, or simply being a source of comfort, your support can make a significant difference. Also encourage self-compassion. Remind the person that it's okay to make mistakes and that self-compassion is essential in the process of healing and growth. Encourage them to practice self-care and kindness towards themselves as they work through their regrets, and foster forgiveness. Help the person understand the importance of forgiveness, both towards themselves and towards others involved in their regrets. Encourage them to release any lingering resentment or anger and to focus on moving forward with a sense of peace and acceptance. And also be patient, but be persistent. Healing from regret takes time. So be patient with the person and offer your support consistently. Encourage them to stay committed to your journey of growth and remind them that you're there for them every step of the way. Ultimately, we all have to do our own inner work. So I encourage you to address any regrets you may be carrying. Be kind to yourself, take responsibility for your actions, and embrace the opportunity for healing and for growth. I'm Sinta Ebersohn, and I would love to extend an open invitation to you and your family to sign up and join my Get Up and Grow community so that you all can get up and grow with me.